what let's see. The question is, what are you contributing to this right now?
Well, it depends on who you ask. If you ask the average Twitter troll, I'm useless and I should probably go jump off a bridge or something. But if you ask me what I've been doing lately, I'm working very hard to distribute this magazine, which I created. It has 2 volumes. I hope my camera doesn't compromise me. It's the filter which does this.
Yeah, it's a
Okay,
filter,
so
Gary.
I hold
But
it
I can see
here.
it. Yeah, there.
Okay, so I have this first volume, which
Nice.
features articles which I wrote. And this is the first edition cover. It says right here, I'm not sure you're going to be able to see it, but it says that it's rare and it has only 210 copies from this first edition. And it goes up in value until 1 magazine equals 1 BTC. It has pumpamentals. I've learned this from Richard Hart, right? And the second volume features a whole history of my podcast. I have been running the Bitcoin Takeover podcast since January of 2019. And basically each guest who has ever been on my podcast, this is Peter Todd, if you can see him. No, you can't. I should turn off
I
the
saw
filter.
him, yeah, because it flashes back and forth.
Let me turn off this background. How do I do it? Virtual background, none. Okay. This should be more stable. So this is Peter Todd, and this is Slush, who created both the Trezor and Slush pool.
Nice.
They were both on my podcast. Who else was? You know John Carvalho, the Bitcoin Erlog, was also on my podcast. And this is Joshua Shigala. He's actually a sponsor of my work and the first person to actually believe in what I'm doing. Like, I have a whole season about hardware wallets, and this is the guy, his name is Benma, and he created a system for, it's called Anti-Klepto, and it's for the Bitbox O2 hardware wallet that's built in Switzerland. I also have Charles Guillemet from Ledger, and he's the CTO of the company. So I have lots of interviews with lots of interesting people, and I decided, you know, this only covers the first 109 episodes. I have more that are out there right now, but this has at the same time 1 page for each guest and also some intermediary pages, 130 pages of content on this one. And what it does is, for example, you open randomly, and this is Donald McIntyre. I'm not sure if you know Donald McIntyre. He's Argentinian, but he's a collaborator of Nick Szabo's, and I've had him on the first episode of the podcast, so it's a coincidence that I open here. But the structure is that basically it says why you should listen to this episode and the element of surprise that you're going to find in this episode. It gives you a slight spoiler about what you're going to find, but also has a QR code, which if you scan, you're going to be directed to a page where you can listen to this episode without registration. So it's not Spotify or Apple or Google or anything. It's a self-hosted service, which allows you to listen even on Tor browser. And also, if you want to download the episode for offline listening, you can also do that. It's very private and it requires no registration. It's just a matter of clicking play. So
it should be.
I should be promoting this as well as this one because they're indispensable. You cannot have one without the other. And this one has more classical style of articles. Like, let me show you the summary. This is copy number 25 out of 210. I kept it for myself because I'm born on the 25th of February. But this is the summary. These are the articles that I have. Let me read some that you can find. There's one that's called How I Almost Got Rich Mining Bitcoin on Slush Pool for a Month. And it describes my experience with home mining. Another one is called 5 Reasons You Should Run Your Bitcoin Node on a Raspberry Pi. So I have one about mining. I have one about running a node. Then I have one about decentralization. It's called Elon Musk Doesn't Understand Decentralization, but You Should. And this is basically a deconstruction which I wrote. So I made fun of him a little with PayPal and 100x block size and whatever. I tried to use the tweets that he posted last year when he was announcing what he's going to improve in Doge. just to explain why that's not sustainable and it's a bad idea. And these ideas were first presented in the case of Bitcoin in that context. It's been very well researched why they were not implemented. But, I guess this helps pump the price, but I've helped explain why this is not sustainable for decentralization. I also have a story about why Bitcoiners should play Final Fantasy X if you're into video games and turn-based RPGs. That one is going to blow your mind because it has a story that's very much akin to the journey of a Bitcoiner. And I also have a comic strip which I drew myself, and let me find it. Just for reference, I also have Briffit Dance on a full page ad. So if you're looking for a lady in her panties,
always works.
You can find this too. I know my target audience very well. This is my comic strip, which tells the story of Bitcoin scaling debate, Bitcoin XT and Classic and Unlimited and Segwit 2x. Basically, in this left side, actually it's right, in this right side, right here, this is Bitcoin being unchanged and constant and eating popcorn while everyone else was trying to come up with proposals. And by the end of it, you see Bitcoin being evolved like in Dragon Ball Z, right? With lightning on top and laser eyes. And these are, I've posted some logos of Liquid and RSK and other stuff that was built on top of it. So,
I love that.
It just ate popcorn up to this point, and then it just went in evolution mode.
But I love the laser, man. I love the laser with the laser eyes. You have to do a sticker.
I even have a guide for how to build your own hardware wallet if you're interested.
Nice.
So this is open source, and this is also open source. So if you want to read them online, you go to bitcointakeover.com, which is, wait, I should put back my background so you can see it.
So you can see that.
I hope that you post also the video when you're going to make this public. So you go to this website right here, and there is a magazine section on the top menu. And this is actually the second magazine. The first one, and I should also show it to you, this is also open source. This is the first edition of it.
You'd have to take the background again.
Yes, just give me a second. Okay.
There you go.
So this is the first edition. I published this last year, and I delivered 450 copies approximately around the world on all 5 continents, also some in Latin America.
Nice.
And this was like my first attempt to turn my work into something physical. And when I saw that this works, I just said to myself, I should build something that's bigger and has more articles and has lots of useful stuff that every Bitcoiner should know. So this was my first attempt. You can also find this one. It's open source. You can even find it on GitHub with all the pages that you can download and print one for yourself if you're interested. But this one just takes it to the next level. Like, I wanted to do only one volume, but it was so big, I wrote so much stuff that it ended up being 2. And each one of them has like 130 pages. So this is killing me. It costs me like $20 to print.
Yeah, I was going to go into that.
I think, to print both of them. And it cost me another 20 to deliver them. So it's going to bankrupt me, but I love it.
Yeah. My wife had a magazine, an art magazine as well, here in Guatemala. So, and I also, there was a time I had a business magazine. So I've been in that printing, business where and it's really hard. I think many people don't appreciate the work that goes into printing out something and then actually getting it into your hands. It's a big journey. It's a big journey. And the magazines are heavy.
When people hold this in their hands, they're gonna be happy. They're gonna be proud. Like, I actually supported this project. This could happen. And I have delivered so far 30 of them to people who have supported my work through donations. And also I've given away 50 of them at the Lightning Hackathon, which took place in Istanbul 2 weeks ago. So I paid 50 out of my own pocket of both volumes, and I gave them away to participants from the conference. And I also gave away 50 only of this volume in Las Vegas last week. There was a conference that's called Unconfiscatable, organized by Tone Base, but he was not involved in any shape or form. It was just Matt Hill from Start9 Labs who helped me print them and deliver them to the people who were interested. I hope that they ended up in good hands and people are going to appreciate what I've done. Because from my experience, when you give something to someone who hasn't asked for it, they're not going to really enjoy it. They're gonna be like, this is a freebie. But at the same time, I never compromised on paper quality. So this is so thick and so glossy and so nice that even if you don't like it, you're gonna pass it to someone else. You're not gonna throw it away. It doesn't look like a leaflet or something.
Yeah, it's 120 grams of per sheet there, right?
It's 150 actually.
Heavy stuff, man. Heavy stuff. I like
Both
that.
of
I
these
like
have
that.
1.2 kilograms, just so you know.
Yeah.
That's why it cost me $20 to deliver it.
Yeah. 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 Been there, man. Been there. I appreciate that you're doing that. I really think I mean, I have to admit, Carlinho told me, and then I started looking into the scope of things that you've been doing, and I was impressed. And exactly as you mentioned, all the amounts of podcasts that you've done, and seeing it, I think, putting it into the physical world, into the magazine. I love it, man. Keep on doing. Don't stop. Don't stop.
Yeah, and if you don't want to support my work for whatever reason, you don't like my face or something, you can get these for free on both my website. And if you don't want to access my website, you can find them on GitHub. I've open sourced every page. So you can get them.
Nice.
If you have a meetup or a conference, you can take the contents and you can print them and deliver them
That
to
would
the
be
people who
interesting.
attend. So I'm not trying to make money off of this. I'm actually losing a lot of money out of it. But the point is to provide nice looking education, because there are lots of books out there, but I think that there's potential in the magazine format. As in a book, you have to follow a certain idea, and you need to have each chapter following the other in terms of providing education. And most people are not going to follow the entire book. They might be interested in only one small issue. And I think that magazines are a nice gateway drug. If you are only interested in mining, for example, you're going to read that article about mining. And this can sit on your coffee table and you can read just what interests you, and then you can pass it to someone else. But at the same time, these are also collectible, because each magazine that I deliver is signed and numbered and is part of a very limited run. So if you're going to print the one that I posted on GitHub, it's going to have a different cover and it's not going to be signed by me. That's the trick behind it. The ones that I deliver myself are actually collectible. So
Love it.
you should
Love
hodl
it.
them if you get them.
I love
They're
it.
like NFTs.
And yeah, yeah, I mean that's real stuff. Yeah. And I wanted to ask from all the information, from all the articles you've written, all the podcasts you've done, and you've compiled this, like I'm sure like what's your key learning from all of this at this point in time? If you could summarize it into a concept, what's your key learning from all the work you've done?
Well, there are two layers to it. There's the practical side and there's the Bitcoin learning side. From a practical side, I've learned that throwing money at an issue does not solve it. And I had an issue with finding a graphic designer. I had 3 people working on these two, and it was hard to find them in the first place. And there are lots of people who are willing to take your money but do a lousy job. And I was planning to release these on Christmas Day 2021. I had to delay by 2 months only to get it right. And there was a lot of work out there just fixing issues, just trying to compromise on stuff. I hate compromising, so that's why it took so long. The formatting and the fonts and the way that they look on certain pages, there was a lot of work that you're not ever going to think about when you read the magazine. There's a lot there. But I'm happy that I was able to get it right, and I'm printing them right now and I'm delivering them to people who are interested. And yes, it's kind of it's taking so much time of my life. I think I got a few gray hairs because of it. And what can I say? I enjoyed it at the same time because it taught me a lot about not just Bitcoin, but logistics and how you're supposed to manage stuff and how to work with people. So far, Bitcoin Takeover has been a one-man project. And I started this while I was the editor-in-chief at Crypto Insider at the time. And then I moved on to work for Bitcoin Magazine. But at one point, I decided that I'm sick of working for other people and I should be doing this for myself. And basically put all of my hard work and skills to good use for a project that I own and own my own work. And that's a very Bitcoin aspiration, sovereignty, to have something of your own. But it's also a lot more difficult. It's a lot easier to fulfill tasks that you are being assigned and get paid at the end of the month, as opposed to trying to do everything by yourself. And let me tell you that, printing these and delivering them takes time that I could have used to write something new or expand my podcast or stuff like that. There's always a trade-off involved, but I've learned to take it slow and lower my time preference, because there was a time when I would write like 3-4 articles a week. Right now I'm writing a lot less than that, but I think I'm writing a lot better than that. So if I compare my work to what I used to do a couple of years ago, or maybe 3 or 4, maybe that I work less in terms of output, in terms of how much content is there, but I think that the quality has also improved. So if I were to choose between having high quality or something that is going to make me feel embarrassed in a few months, I think I would rather do something that makes me feel proud about having spent time on it. And for this, I must also thank my 2 big sponsors who have been, supporting my work, because it's very hard to get by and make ends meet. The first one is Voltoro, and there's Joshua Shigala from Voltoro. He has a business which allows you to trade Bitcoin for gold and silver. A lot of Bitcoiners are not going to appreciate that, but many of the early adopters were gold bugs and were very much into the idea of sound money. So they would rather trade Bitcoin for gold during the bear market, for example. So at the top of the bull market, they trade Bitcoin for gold. They hodl that gold, and then when there's the capitulation moment with the lowest price, they buy Bitcoin again with gold, because they perceive gold as an asset which loses less value in time than the US dollar or any other fiat currency. So that's the consideration behind it. And there's more to it, because he thought about everything else and he built his business after Mt. Gox collapsed. So basically, you can even you can make a request to have the gold delivered to your door, if you can afford that, of course, because it's quite expensive. Yeah. And even if if something bad happens to Voltoro and it's not going to be around anymore, there's still a gold certificate that you can use to claim your gold from the vaults, which is insured by Swiss companies and stuff like that. It's complicated because gold is serious business. You need to pay men with guns to secure it, and military facilities and stuff like that. So there's a lot that you're not thinking about when it comes to gold, but it's humanity's oldest form of money, and I have a lot of respect for it, for the fact that it's still around. But I got too much into specifics. The other sponsor that I have is Wasabi Wallet. I have their old logo here. And I'm good friends with Adam, Nopara73. I first interviewed him shortly after he launched Wasabi. I was an early user of Wasabi, and I became a big fan specifically because it enables all sorts of advanced features on their very basic interface.
I like Wasabi,
yeah, so it's like running a full node, even though it's not really running a full node because it downloads block filters, but it's still trustless and better than SPV. You don't need to connect to somebody else's Electrum node. And that's major. And there's also Tor, which runs on top of it. And there's also the very nice UTXO management. Those are the elements that I really like, and they don't even imply coin joins. That's where I was getting at, because most people think of Wasabi as a CoinJoin wallet. It can do CoinJoins, but if you don't want to use them, it's a lot better than most wallets out there still.
Indeed.